that game.
Yeah, so let's dive into some offense and defense, Vince. We're going to start with the offense. We're going to spend more time on the defense today, but I did want to get a little bit in the offense in. As I went back and watched the game, really looked through the play calling from Tommy Rees, I was as impressed by it on the review as I was live. Again, I'll say again, I hated the 3rd and 5 call. I got why he did it. I didn't like it. But other than that, I liked what he did. I liked how aggressive they were on momentum when there was needs for momentum changes back in their favor. So like after Florida State scored to take a 14-7 lead, Notre Dame went right on the attack and obviously executed well until that 3rd and 5 call, which then set up the goal, got the ball back, went down and scored again on that next drive. When Florida State took the 24-20 lead, Tommy Rees on the first play of the next series went deep to Kevin Austin, which I liked. I thought they were aggressive. They took 7 shots. The 8 shots technically, but I don't count the Hail Mary shots.
No, I wouldn't count that.
Of at least 20 yards down the field. They had another 4 shots that went at least 15. Part of the reason a couple of those didn't go 20 is because of how quickly Jack Coan got the ball out. So that corner out to Michael Mayer went just under 20 because he got the ball out so quickly. And he threw it with a little bit more of on a line, because again, that's what you do. If the guy's open and you get it out there as quickly as possible, you don't lead him down the field.
Oh, you're talking about the touchdown pass?
The touchdown pass, yeah, when he was the blown coverage.
His eyes must have been like,
wow, yeah, this is going to be easy. Right. Yeah. So I thought that was, there was a lot of aggressiveness. Paul Olmstead with the super chat. Paul, thank you, Paul, very, very much for that. So Paul Olmstead, the super chat, kicking things off on that. So Tom, again, back to Tom Rees. The other thing too is they didn't abandon the running game. Your 2 tailbacks still carried the ball 25 times in a game where you were getting no movement. They did a good job of, okay, if our running backs aren't getting the ball or aren't making plays in the run game, they had 10 catches. Mm-hmm. So your 2 running backs is what your position you're kind of building yourself around. They had 35 touches, right? That's kind of where you want to be. Kyron Williams had 24 touches. Chris Tyree had 11 touches. Again, that's kind of where you want to be, especially in a game where you're just not getting any movement in the run game. So I like the play calling. I thought 3rd down was good for the most part. I thought some of their 3rd down concepts early weren't great against what Florida State was doing, but overall, I thought that the play calling, in my opinion, was good. What's up, Vince? You had
one point I want to make about the play calling is it's very clear that Tommy Rees knows his team, in my opinion, because going forward in a deep way on 3rd and short and 2nd and short, 4th and short for on that touchdown pass, he knows this isn't last year's team, right? Last year's team's lining it up, punching you in the mouth, getting those 2 yards or whatever, right? He knows where the strengths are of this team, and I appreciate that, right? He's not trying to fit, the square peg in a round hole situation, right? He knows what his strengths are, and he's calling plays in that manner. And I appreciate that from a young coordinator, knowing your team. I mean, that's huge. That's huge to me. And then eventually teams are going to be like, well, it's 3rd and 2. We can't really pack the box because they may go long here or they may do this. And so then that's going to open up maybe some of the run game and all that. So I really liked his aggressiveness and then knowing his team on some of those short yardage situations. And
I love the aggressiveness of it. Like you talked about the shots down the field. I mean, I'm trying to pull up Jack Coan's. I have Jack Coan's grades for the game. Obviously I gave him an A-, not a B-. There was enough in there. You know me, I'm a pretty hard grader. I don't hand out A's, and I don't know if I've maybe given like 1 A+ ever. I probably gave an A+ or 2 out during the 2017 season to some of the offensive linemen, but I don't have a ton. But I'm Jack Coan's 3rd and 4th quarter stats in this game. So on 3rd and 4th downs in this game, Jack Coan went 9 of 12 for 178 yards and 4 touchdowns on 3rd and 4th down, because the first touchdown was a 4th down to Michael Mayer.
Right.
Then there was a 3rd and short. It was 3rd and 1 or 2. That was the touchdown pass to Kevin Austin.
Yep.
The touchdown pass to Joe Wilkins was a 3rd down, 3rd medium, 3rd and 5, but they were sort of in 2-down territory there. And so then, of course, you had another 3rd down where he read it out. They did a free release instead of having Kyron Williams wasting in the backfield pass blocking. He got Kyron Williams out in the flats. He dumps it off to Kyron. He makes a play. And that's what we've been asking for, Vince.
That's it. Yeah.
Use your playmakers. Like the throw to Joe Wilkins. That wasn't a great throw by Jack Coan, but you gave your guy a chance to make a play, and he made a play.
Right.
And that's what you want. You know, getting the ball on check downs to Kyron Williams at 3-4 yards and letting him make people miss and picking up 15 yards. Those are the things you say. Get the ball down to your playmaker. Well, he didn't scramble. I'd rather him take a check down to Kyron Williams like that than to scramble.
Because I'd rather have Kyron Williams with the ball in his hands running around than Jack Coan or Ian Book, if that's what we're comparing him to, right? That's what I want. Get the ball in the hands of your playmakers, and that's one of the things that we always thought that Jack Coan was going to be good at.
We have a super chat from David Carpenter. Yeah. Awesome to be discussing actual games and good to get the W. Sarcasm font. Glad to see we are still fair catch you. It's even worse now because they're now fair catch you on kickoffs, which I was laughing at Martin Demo with a little sarcasm for the show from responding to the post game show. Very well done, Martin. Very well done. But no, I thought the play calling was good. I thought Jack Coan executed it relatively well. I think there were some times I thought he was a little too quick through his progressions. Early on, I think the pass rush not affected him like he wasn't willing to throw it, but I think it caused him to he felt he had to go through his reads a little quicker. For people that have said, well, he hit us through his first read all the time. Joe Wilkins was not his first read on the touchdown pass. If you go back and look, he's looking here, he doesn't see. He sees the safety kind of go over and knows he's kind of got that backside. He takes the shot. He also had Lawrence Keys coming across the middle on that play too. I thought he ran the offense effectively. Couple things that I'm curious about. I'm curious about whether or not he's not allowed to throw RPOs or pull the ball on the backside of runs, or if he just made the decision not to. I counted about 9 RPOs in the game, all handoffs.
Right.
And it was all just that little look screen stuff. That's all they did. I don't know if there didn't seem to be other plays. Like I went and watched pass plays. The problem is sometimes the run blocking was so passive and catchy that it was like, I don't know if that's pass blocking or if that's run blocking.
That's a really good point.
On a play action pass. So that was a little bit problematic, but there were times where it's like, look, this is a game of, there were times where they were cutting back and they were just backside guys just there crashing, and he wasn't pulling it. Not that he would have run for 100 yards, but maybe he can run 4 or 5. But I still think they need to do more things in the RPO game to protect that edge, especially with what we saw from Jack Coan on Sunday night. He can get that ball out quickly. You've got guys who can make plays. That's the next evolution that we need to see. And I'm curious to see kind of what that was. But there were times maybe he could have pulled the ball out and got it out. But overall, I thought he did good. I thought the running backs played well, Vince. I thought the receivers played very well. They were open a lot in the game. There was a play when Jack Coan was sacked early where he was getting ready to look back to Kevin Austin, and he got drilled. Kevin Austin had broken free on a backside in cut, so he was a backside one-on-one. You read the front side, it was covered, and he was getting ready to come back, and bam, he gets sacked. Kevin Austin, I thought, had a really good game. Everything's kind of thrown off timing-wise. We're doing the upon further review on Tuesday instead of Sunday night because it was a night game. It was on Sunday. The travel was on Monday. It just was kind of a weird week. We'll normally do these on Sunday night, but my grades are going to be out later this week as well. But when you look at the receivers, I thought the separation was there. Braden Lindsey had multiple steps in the game. He actually had a couple steps on the guy on that underthrow from Jack Coan.
And so did Kevin Austin too on the flea flicker. I mean, he was open.
He wasn't as open. I was watching that live because he did like a delay.
And he came from the backside.
And then he did like a kind of delay in the middle and then ran. He had a step. Jack needs to throw that ball over top and it's open. It should have been there, but he didn't have a big step. Travis J was recovering because of that, but it still should have been completed. So Braden Lindsey had another play in the middle where where Jack kind of went. I thought Jack was going to throw it, but he looked away from Braden because he saw the pressure coming before Braden got in there. But if he needs to just hit that and just let it rip, I think we'll see some of that down the road too. But that was another play where Braden Lindsey had beat a guy deep. That was good to see. Was to see him getting separation on vertical routes. Because on the underthrow, he had put it like this. If Deshaun Kaiser, and again, I thought Jack played a great game, but there's a difference in arm strength between Jack Coan and Deshaun Kaiser. Deshaun Kaiser was the best deep ball thrower Notre Dame's had. I mean, for all the issues I had with Deshaun Kaiser, he threw the best deep ball.
Yeah.
That's a touchdown to Braden Lindsey on that play. That's something Jack's going to have to learn. Hey, get that thing and let it rip. He took like 2 gather steps and tried to throw a deep ball to Braden Lindsey. You're not doing that.
Right. You got to get it out quicker than that.
You got to get it out in the second half. He did. Yes. You know, he on the touch on the right. Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what I liked was that in the first half, 2 underthrows. Right.
And that tells me his OC got in his ear at halftime too.
Yeah. And in the second half, he got rid of that ball quicker, got it out in front, and allowed his guys to go make plays. So he's learning as he goes too. This was his first game. Look, you
and there's a difference in game speed and practice speed. You and I both know that.
You can throw as many balls as you want in fall camp and spring and whatever. It's completely different than when you're in a game because guess what? Your receivers are actually a little faster in a game.
Yeah.
You got to get it out there quicker.
I'm going to interrupt you, Vince, because I want you to keep explaining this, but I want to do it in response to a super chat we got from J-Peth Martin. I'm sorry. I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm not, I apologize. But he said, were the underthrows due to arm strength or timing? And I would say, and I want to know if you agree with me, Vince, I thought the underthrows in the first half had to do with, number one, he doesn't have Deshaun Kaiser's arm strength.
No.
But the other two is I thought he tried to get air on it. I mean, touch on it instead of just launching it. He was trying to arc it. He was trying to throw to Braden Lindsey the same way he made the throw to Kevin Austin, right? Touch air outside. When you've got and this is the thing, there's 2 types of deep balls. There's deep balls that are the quick hit it and go, which is that dropping it on the outside. Then there's a deep ball where you're getting deep and you're trying to throw it over the top of the defense. That J-Feth. Okay, thank you for clearing that up. It's J-Feth. So that one particular required more of the deep ball to Joseph Wilkins required more, put it on the back shoulder, which he did. He just needs to get it out about 4 inches more outside.
Yeah, right.
That throw to Braden requires you to throw it out and let him run underneath it.
Exactly.
So he was trying to place it on Braden, but Braden's too fast for that. You got to launch and let go. Now, the arm strength thing. So I have seen clips from practice where he has made that exact throw to Braden Lindsey and let him. So I've seen it. I think it was more of a getting used to Braden's game speed, as you know, is different.
Yep.
And the other part was he did a double gather. That was the other thing. He did a double gather on that play. You can't do that. You have
Which
to
means timing. Yeah.
It's so it's also a timing thing. So I think he's got the arm strength to make that throw better. He's not a guy that can make that throw with a double hitch and then go. He doesn't have that kind of arm. He's got to he's got to hit it and let it go. And it requires a different type of deep throw. He's capable of it. I've seen him do it at Wisconsin. I've seen him throw the ball further than that at Wisconsin. I've seen him throw the ball further than that in practice. He needs to be able to let it go. So I think it was a mistake more than it was an inability to do something. But he doesn't, like I said, he does not have Deshaun Kaiser's arm strength. He doesn't have Everett Golson's arm strength. He's going to have to let that thing go. I don't think he can throw the ball as far as Ian Book could. This is the thing we always talked about with Ian Book.
Right.
It was never a lack of ability to throw the ball for Ian Book. It was a lack of willingness to throw the deep ball. Jack has the willingness. Now he's got to understand
we saw that
types of it. Right.
We saw that.
Threw 7 deep balls, not kind of Hail Mary. Threw 7 balls at least 20 yards. And 11, I counted 11 that went at least 15 yards.
Yeah, exactly.
Not counting the Hail Mary.
Right, yeah.
So a third of his passes basically were – a third of his non-screen passes were
deep balls.
Deep balls at least that went 15 yards down the field.
And that's the thing. It's like if I was answering this question, I would have said it's more about timing. But I think he fixed the timing in the second half, right? Because he had to get used to his guys and game speed, et cetera. And you're right. I think Tommy got in his ear a little bit and said, "Hey, those guys are there. You know they're there. You just got to get it up to them, right?"
Yeah.
So I think it's just more timing and getting used to his guys. It's going to get better, which is scary, but it's going to get better.
Yep. And I thought, again, overall, I thought the receivers did really well. They were getting separation. Blocked okay, blocked okay, not great.
And they have a willingness to block downfield. Right. We saw that a few different times. So, I mean, I'm okay with that.
And there's a question from Bruce Sher I want to ask to kind of get into it. It says, I couldn't watch the game live or in replay. Was Avery Davis not in the passing plan? He was. One thing Florida State was doing is Florida State was crowding crowding the line, right? And they were crowding the middle. And so they were basically trying to stretch all the runs outside for Notre Dame, which they did. And they wanted to run inside out right, and use the sideline to their advantage. Well, that also took away a lot of the over the middle pass game stuff.
Right. The seam and all that stuff that we've
talked about. There were also
about.
times that you could tell Jack wanted to look for the slots, but the pressure came and he couldn't. He had to check it down. And so Florida State basically said, we're going to dare you to beat us throwing the ball down the field. That was their game plan.
Right.
And Notre Dame said, okay.
And Brian, correct me if I'm wrong here, because you've been a passing game coordinator at the college level. So to me, in my experience, rare is it that the slot receiver is your number one target. It's like your first read. It doesn't. It depends on the.
It depends on the route concept, but Michael Mayer, a lot of times that he was catching the ball was doing it from as a slot guy, and he was part of. The thing people have to understand is you don't often have a primary read, meaning you're going to throw to the Z or the X. It's your primary read is reading the flat defender.
Right.
He's your primary read, and then that will determine whether you're going to throw the hitch or the smash or the corner on, for example. Right. And so it's not necessarily a primary read as this you right there. Now when you're playing man, a lot of times you'll read 1, 2, 3, 4 if it's man.
Right.
But a lot of time and so that also depends too. So like if you're running double slants, your read's going to be inside out. If you're running, hitches, it's going to be inside out. If you're going to be running out breaking routes, it's outside in. You're going to read the go first and then the throw the out second. Right. And so do I take the one-on-one shot or then do I read inside? So it just depends on the concepts being run. I felt like in this game, Florida State was basically saying, we're going to make you go, we're going to force everything to the perimeter and we're going to make you beat us down the field. And they didn't think Notre Dame could do that, and Notre Dame did that. And that was a big part of this game.
I think the Notre Dame offense sent a message to future opponents about that.
100%.
Because look, the way you beat Notre Dame in the past, and somebody, a Florida State fan, said that in our chat about a week ago. The way you beat Notre Dame is stop the pass or stop the run game, clog the middle. Yeah, absolutely.
In the past, sure.
Yeah, and Notre Dame made them pay.
And this is why it's a great thing that they were so aggressive down the field, Vince, is because now future opponents are going to have to respect that. Okay.
Exactly.
And now you're some of those crossing routes, those short routes are now going to have more room to work.
Yes.
And if they can add a few more RPOs into the run game, a few more creative RPOs into the run game, I think that too is going to have a greater impact on the success of the run game, but also the quick game. So I thought they did a good job of taking what was there. Sure. And what was there was shots, and they took shots. And there were some things we didn't see them going for verts a whole lot, but again, I kind of understand it when you consider they did. There was a lot of concepts that I know Notre Dame likes to run that we didn't see them call much of, if any, in this game, because I don't think there was a lot of confidence they could protect Jack Coan on those type of reads. Yeah, I think, so that leads us to the final part. Oh, tight ends. We talked a lot about on Sunday night, Vince. Can't drop those balls. Tight end blocking is going to have to get a lot better. I thought George Takis had a good job blocking. Michael Mayer was pretty below average as a blocker in this game.
Almost looked like he didn't want
his angles are bad.
Contact and angles, and he was over his skis an awful lot from what I noticed, and that's disappointing.
Really poor run blocking performance from the tight end.
Because Michael Mayer's a big dude, big strong.
He was a better blocker in games last year than what he was against Florida State. Now again, one game. Right. One game.
Yep.
But in this one game, he did a poor job. Agreed. And so tight end position came up big for Notre Dame at times, but it also had some disappointing moments. And you expect better from this unit because that's the standard, right? Like, hey, 8 catches, 120. Yeah, it was great. But 2 times when there was opportunities to put Florida State away, you're up 7-0. You got a chance to catch a ball that gets you into field goal range. You drop it. You've got a chance to win the game at the end. Quarterback hits you right in the hands. I'm sorry. You got to catch that.
If you're an All-American,
because the 8 for 120 doesn't matter if you don't make that play when it matters.
Right.
Like, that was my thing about Will Fuller. Like, Will Fuller would drop balls. He never dropped a ball when the game's on the line, ever.
Yeah.
And that's what Michael Mayer's got. Sophomore, game 1.
Right.
We're just talking about this game. He's going to have a
We're
great
not throwing
year.
him under the bus. It's just the fact that he's got to.
I just can't believe Florida State still thought it was a good idea to play him one-on-one.
All game.
I just
woo.
Yeah. Now they were playing some inside out stuff with linebackers on the quick stuff, but if he ever ran an out breaking route, it was you got that guy. It was it. John A1.
Perfect segue.
Tuesday Irish breakdown. BK said the pass pro was good. Thoughts? I don't know what Brian Kelly's talking about.
Yeah, the pass pro for me, and I'll just lead this off, Brian. The pass pro for me, look, good pass pro, yes, you are giving ground a little bit, right? And you're trying to form that beautiful pocket for the quarterback to be able to step up in, et cetera, right? That pocket lasted milliseconds most of the time because the interior was getting pushed back so severely that there was no pocket. Now, there were a couple plays where Jack Coan did have a pocket, and he made Florida State pay when he had a pocket. But more often than not, it was at the third down, and you asked me who gave up the pressure. It was early on in the game. It was the one that was thrown out, and it was short. It went to the feet of the receiver.
Right.
It's because he got run into by the guard because the guard got pushed back so far that he ran into the quarterback. Right. Mm-hmm. That happened more often than it didn't happen. And that was the biggest problem that I saw. The interior got manhandled in a rush situation. I mean, it was not good. It was not good. And then that just parlayed into the run game where there was just catching, and they were not establishing the line of scrimmage beyond the original line. They were stalemate at best.
Right. And the thing is, like, there was technical problems I saw. Like at right tackle, there were times where Josh Lugg was getting so deep into his pass pro, it almost looked like he was backpedaling, and that allowed them to just kind of push him back. That I thought was a technical problem that you say, well, that's not what Josh Lugg did 2 years ago when he started at right tackle. They were giving up way too much ground there. I thought that was problematic. I thought there was a lot of miscommunications, which those are the things, like the first pressure of the game, Josh Lugg's outside and Cain Madden steps inside thinking that he's going to have help from Josh Lugg. I don't know why he thought that, because Josh Lugg had a guy on his outside and the guy just runs through. That's the kind of stuff I'm okay with. And I'm not okay with it, meaning as a coach, I'm going to be ticked. But like, that's the kind of thing you expect from a line that has 4 new starters in it, right? Like, I can live with that. You can correct, hey, look, you got to know this. You got to have some awareness, and those aren't the mistakes that Cain Madden made very often at Marshall. So again, I'm going to chalk that up to first game, new players, new system. That stuff's going to get cleaned up pretty quickly. Michael Carmody just turning a guy loose on the outside because he's stepping down inside. I'm going to chalk that up to first game mistake, right? But the problem was, I thought the tackles other than the mistakes were okay. Mm-hmm. I thought Blake Fisher did his job, wasn't overly impressive in doing it, but wasn't bad. Michael Carmody, outside of the one mistake, wasn't overly impressive doing his job, but he wasn't bad. The guards were bad in this game. I mean, Pro Football Focus has, which their grades are hilarious. They had Jack Coan as the 46th best quarterback in the country on Saturday.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. Oh. But they had Cain Madden giving up 4 pressures. I had him giving up 4 pressures as well. I had them giving up more pressures than Pro Football Focus did as a whole. But I thought that when you look at this, there was also times where they were just getting pushed back, where that's not a pressure. But as a quarterback, it gets you a little bit like, okay, if I throw this, am I going to hit this guy in the helmet?
Right, because they're in your lap. I mean, that's a problem.
Right. So there was too much of that. That was a concern. And then the run game, and as we kind of move on to the run game, it was just catching all night long. And Vince, you had talked about during the game where you talked about the Michael Carmody where he took Jermaine Johnson and drove him into the end zone. If you go watch that play again, and I know you did, I'm sure you noticed this too. At the snap, he just stood up and caught him.
Yeah.
But Michael's so strong that he then drove him into the end zone.
Take it over.
But he just stood up and caught him.
And see that's
the goal line.
That's elementary technique stuff that we teach 14-year-olds in high school. Like, fire out.
The one guy that did a good job firing out in the run game was Cain Madden.
That's his thing. Right. That's his thing, right?
His technique was sloppy, but he came off hard. Yeah. And on that touchdown drive, he came off and drilled a guy, and the ball didn't go behind him, but that's not on him.
Right.
But he came off, and he had some nice short yardage pushes. The rest of the line, a lot of catching. A lot of catching in the run game. I mean, there was blown assignments, on the jet sweep to Chris Tyree. I mean, Jermaine Johnson just doesn't get touched. To the call side, just doesn't get touched. I don't know who was supposed to block him. I don't know if it was a tight end thing, O-line thing. There was a play where they're running inside zone, or they're running a sweep play, and Josh Lugg think it was a sweep. No, it was a zone play because it was supposed to get inside. Josh Lugg just turns inside and just catches the guy 2 yards down behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, Vince, I stopped the tape so many times where they were engaged with the defensive lineman from Florida State on the Notre Dame side of the ball.
Correct.
Like back.
That's why I say the best they did was a stalemate.
Right.
And that's not okay.
For the most part. There was a couple snaps here and there, but I mean, your longest run of the game was on a draw on second and long.
When you're supposed to let them come.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Kind of the point. So that was what we said all summer was, look, I can live with the mistakes of the opener. It's going to happen. And we saw those, right? Those got to get cleaned up. But you kind of, you expect that in game one with a bunch of new dudes playing together. The concern was always going to be, are they going to get back to catching or are they going to be physical? Now, I'm not saying this is how they're going to be for the rest of the year because they were the same way early in 2018.
That's true.
2018 against Michigan, a lot of catching. They were tough, but they were catching. And then they weren't good in the next week against Ball State, or was it Vanderbilt in week 2 or Ball State in week 2?
Well, they weren't good against Ball State. That's all.
Right. and then Vanderbilt. I think they had Ball State in week 2. I always get those two games backwards. Yeah, they had Ball State in week 2, and the offensive line was terrible. They got a little better against Vanderbilt. If you remember, Tony Jones had a good day that day. They ran for 200 yards that game. Then against Wake Forest, the offensive line was really good, and they were pushing Wake Forest around. Had 200, over 200 yards against Vandy, 200 yards against Wake Forest, 200 yards against Stanford. By game 5 against Stanford, they were blowing Stanford up. Right. So they progressed. Now they regressed after that, but that was because bars went down.
Sure.
And he was your best lineman by far at that point in time in the season. So it was understandable. So we need to, and that was with Jeff Quinn, right? That was first year Jeff Quinn. So we're going to need to see that move forward because there's 2 reasons why we could have seen catching in the opener. Number 1 is he's not teaching them to fire off the ball. That could be it. Number 2 is because there's so much thinking going on in game 1, guys working together, they're not as aggressive.
Sure.
That's what happened in 2018 in the first 2 games. A lot of thinking, a lot of mistakes. As they started to clean that up later in the year, game 3, game 4, game 5, they got a lot better. So I'm going to have my eye on that, right? Because again, it is the opener. The more you think, the less physical you're going to be. We've said that. We've said that a million times. So that's something I'm going to be looking for here, Vince. Absolutely.